Hey, it's Canes Insight Live, my favorite day of the week. You know what that means. It means that D Money is usually here rocking his Croquette County shirt. He's handling some business. He'll join us in progress. But I've got Peter Ariz here, the most plugged in guy covering Miami Hurricanes basketball. But he's also been at spring practice, and I know that's what a lot of you are tuning in for. So, Pete, let's give them what they want. Hop in.
Let's go. Let's go.
Bright eyes. How's it going, L. Pete?
Doing great, man. I know people are going to be tuning in here and saying, "Where's D Money?" And you know what? Sometimes we have to delay the show because D Money's not on time. You know what we said today? We're just gonna go.
We're just gonna bob and weave with the two-man game.
And he'll be here soon. But yeah, man, good first couple of days of practice as always. The show brought to you by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733, and take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. So yeah, Mike, just we had practice today. Finished up now a little while ago. Media portion got the 30 minutes or so there, and then was there also on Mondays, and we got like 45 minutes, a little bit more than normal. Obviously you always go out there and look at the new guys out there, the freshmen, the transfers, just their body types. And overall, man, what I would say is that the foundation's really good right now. It's really solid. Am I ready to say right now, even if we knew that Carson Beck was 100% ready to go, which obviously we don't expect him not to be once the season comes around, but like, if everything was all cylinders go right now, am I ready to say this is a top 5, top 10 team? No, but I really like the baseline of where this is at right now, in terms of the offensive line being what it is, the run game that's returning, receiver will figure some things out there, but some of these young guys look good, and then the defense just it has to be better. And from what I've seen early on, it will be.
Okay, so we're still trying to identify what the floor of this team is. But last year, as you know, a lot of one-score games. I think you could make a solid argument that Miami kind of maximized the wins that they were capable of. Took an unfortunate turn. Yeah, they blew some leads, but I think everybody before the season would have taken that win-loss record. So I think Mario Cristobal and his staff did do a good job in terms of maximizing the talent that was on that roster. Not as deep of a team, a better quarterback that you have fewer questions, certainly at this point when you consider Carson Beck's injury. But this is the 4th year for a recruiting-based head coach. Usually that's when you take off, especially after a year where some of those one-score games even out from year 2 to year 3. So I posit this to you in the audience, Pete. You've actually been there. I haven't had the pleasure to be out there at spring practice yet. Early feedback that I'm getting from reading the boards and talking to some people that have been out there is that the floor for this team might actually be higher than last year's team. Last year's team required a unicorn to pull out some amazing performances to not lose some games that this program has historically lost over the last 15 years. Do you sign up to that notion that the floor on this team might be higher?
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if I'm ready to say that 2 practices in, but I can see the argument. And it's sort of what I've seen out there the last few days is, again, knowing what we know about Carson Beck, if he's 100%, I expect him to be able to operate this offense.
If he's 100%, that is a proven commodity. You know what you're getting. You're going to have some frustrating turnovers that people will lament, but it's a byproduct of him going for it because he has the talent to do so. You know what you got there, which is a defending SEC champion quarterback.
Yeah, I love the pieces on the O-line. You know, I think you're bringing back pretty much 4 starters. Markel Bell, throwing him in the mix here because I think he's played enough and he showed enough to be very excited about him at left tackle. Probably one of the guard spots up for grabs. You have Brockermeyer coming in at center. So you change centers again. That's always a big thing in terms of communication and all that. But the offensive line, I expect to still be a major strength of this team. The run game, Mark Fletcher, we know what he is. Jordan Lyle, we saw flashes of it, but I said it in my instant reaction from the car after leaving Green Tree a little while ago. Jordan Lyle looks like an NFL back right now. And he was behind an NFL back in Damian Martinez and obviously his teammate Mark Fletcher, which like Fletcher did not deserve to like.
I've been
lose
reading
his
Martinez
spot.
has come out of that combine and the evaluation period in the NFL smelling like roses.
Yeah. So I think there's been a lot of positive talk about him, but just in general, like, and that run game's very good. Receiver wise, we said it. Still expect. Go ahead.
Well, I want to focus on the receivers, but I do want to pause before you move on Jordan Lyle, because Jordan Lyle has a dynamism about him, a game-breaking ability that Mark Fletcher just doesn't have. When Mark Fletcher can get in that second level, but when he gets in that second level, when he's in conference competition or against some of the elite teams, he's not going to pull away once he gets to that second level. Jordan Lyle's already displayed that particular skill set. He's one of the few game breakers that Miami have on its roster. I think that he's poised for a big year. I think Fletcher is too. This is a more traditional thunder and lightning type of dynamic. I am really bullish on Jordan Lyle. I'm curious as to how his body has evolved since year one. This guy might have been getting RB1 snaps all throughout the ACC conference. No one doubts his talent. I'm really excited about what he has in store for year two.
Let me pull up a picture here. Our guy Ethan, who's working with us now at Canes Inside, one of our interns, was out at practice, and he took a picture of Jordan Lyle that I'm gonna pull up, and you can see his build. I say it too. Anytime these guys change numbers to the single digits, they
know what they're doing.
Aesthetically, yeah,
it
looks good. But those Willis McGahee vibes are strong.
Really?
I mean, I'm telling you, the way
in the
he's
calves,
built,
in the calves,
man. I'm telling you, he's the way he's built. I'm gonna, I'll
you
say
just
it now,
invoked quite the name, dude. You invoked quite the name.
I saw someone else say it with the number 2, and like Joe Yearby wore number 2 at Miami, but wasn't built anywhere near that, so it didn't invoke those thoughts for me.
You're saying Lyle has McGahee had one of the better builds a Miami back has ever had.
Gonna let me get this.
I got to see this photo.
Yeah, I mean, you could, and look, there's other stuff out there on him, but dude, this guy, and he looked the part last year too.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, like,
still an 18-year-old man.
and he doesn't look like, you talk about these game-breaking backs, right? We talked a lot about Chris Johnson last year, who's at SMU now, but like, it's a skinnier back, or we talk about Gerard Pringle now coming in as more of a scat back, a game breaker. He's smaller and more compact. Here we go. Let me get the picture.
I'm excited to see this picture. You built it up with a mighty big comp there, Pete. Dude, mighty big. Willis McGahee. That's crazy talk.
Again, I said it. It may be the number 2, but I mean, this is a stout.
Okay, the Cavs. I'm looking at them. Okay,
this is a stout back.
I still think he needs some work on the lower body to get to those comps, but
it's not. I'm telling you, it's not far off. It's really not far. He has to be. He has to be.
You could see the fast twitch muscle fiber with Willis McGahee as he ran. So this is a static image. So
number two is strong with the reasoning, but
I can confirm reports. He does also wear the same number as Willis McGahee.
He does.
So that's a mighty big comp, but you and I are super bullish on the kid. He had one of the better runs that we've seen over the last 20 years at USF, turning the corner and being able to pull away from defenders that have angles on him. That is an ability that has been sorely lacking in this backfield. Yep. But you touch on the receivers. Let's do a deep dive, because there are 2 things that are top of the list concerns for me now that the quarterback thing got addressed. And I think I share this with many of the people in the chat right now. Secondary, which we know we brought a lot of talent in the transfer portal. I want to talk to you about that. But receiver, we didn't bring a lot of talent in through the portal, just CJ Daniels as of right now. Now, there's going to be another window, and Miami is almost certain to address that position. But there are some freshmen on this roster that have some potential. There's some growth and development from the players that were on this roster that didn't contribute last year. What are you seeing so far?
So, I've been keeping an eye on those 3 freshmen in particular for sure. And Josh Moore, he just walking into practice.
He's got so much buzz on the internet, Josh Moore.
Because he sticks out amongst the position groups. Like, you can go position by position and really say, like, there's some really good looking linebackers, and a Darius Hayes, a Bobby Pruitt, like they look how you want them to look, but Moore sticks out amongst his position group more than some of these other guys, right?
As a freshman,
as a freshman, just height wise and I mean,
that's why he's got the internet like thirsting over him. Like there have been think pieces out there saying that this guy can make an immediate impact day one. Some of the feedback that I got is let's slow that down. That's a lofty expectation. Some of the comparisons have been insane. That's a lot to ask for a true freshman receiver, but the body type does kind of speak to that.
Yeah, without a doubt, I would say the other guy too that I think makes an early impact would be a Malachi Toney.
He's killing it, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks good. I mean, has killed workouts, which I always tend to listen to what D Money's saying on the people who are standing out in the workouts, because we hear this. We heard it last year with OJ Frederick. Like those guys who are excelling in that portion of it, usually it translates to the field. And with Toney, we saw has already put on some really good weight. Is a gym rat, but he's a real football player. He's a guy who was playing quarterback for Heritage in their run to in the playoffs there. So can make an impact as a guy in the slot, I think, with Restrepo's production and a lot of production at the receiver spot.
Who is he battling at this slot position?
Well, the Ray Joseph.
Ray
Joseph.
I've already heard more positive buzz over the first couple of days of Malachi Toney in camp at that position than I've heard over the past couple seasons with Ray.
I mean, look, with Ray, I think he's gotten obviously some criticism for not breaking through. Yet it's very tough for me to sit here and say, look, he hasn't lived up to expectations and all that, because this is a guy who puts in the work. Like, he's doing everything he's supposed to, and I don't think it's far-fetched just to think that he's still got an opportunity to do something at Miami, right? To be an impactful player here, right? He's been here for a couple years. Obviously, it hasn't worked out to the high degree yet, but I haven't given up on him. There's something to be said about maturity at that position. You go back and look at someone like Braxton Berrios. His first few years at Miami, by the numbers, were not good, really at all, right? So we get in this you got to be good right away thing. That would be one of his biggest competitors there in the slot.
Let me walk that back though, Pete. Ray does not have to be good right away. He flatly wasn't good right away. Couple seasons now of growth and development, but he does have to be better than Malachi Toney. Yeah. That's not a high bar to clear. If Malachi Toney is coming in and eating his lunch right away, it could speak volumes to Malachi Toney, who has thus far exceeded my expectations with the work that he's put in. But it also is a bit of an indictment in Ray, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, Malachi Toney is his nickname is Baby Jesus. So I don't know that that's an indictment on anyone. You have someone coming like that, but I think Ray himself would tell like. Ray is the type of guy who's going to be very honest with the situation, and like if he's had some opportunities, right? Like he's been the punt returner. Like it's time for him to step up and do it. It's now or never for him. So I'm like I said, I don't. When you hear so many good things about certain guys, like even though it hasn't worked for him, like he's still stuck with it, and much respect. He didn't. Could he enter the portal? Anyone can enter the portal. I'm not going to say he's entering. He's not entering. Like it could still happen, obviously, after spring. But like, give him credit for giving it a go and understanding. Look, man, the guys who were in front of me last year, we were in a lot of tight games. They didn't really do anything necessarily to lose their opportunities, right? Someone maybe argue Sam Brown, but you see how he tested at the combine, and like if you're a coach, if you're a college coach, it's very tough to be like, no, I'm not gonna let this guy who maybe has the most physical ability on my team, I'm not gonna put him on the field, even though you see it and you're like frustrated with it at times,
Before we move on to the DBs, any other names flashing at that wide receiver position group that might not be on some radars, that you just like the body type, you saw them flash once or twice and you got an eye on them?
I would say not so much receiver. I like Dalen Upshaw is looking solid so far early, but at tight end, Luka Gilbert, freshman tight end. Brock Schott is someone that everyone's been talking about as a highly rated tight end in this case, but Luka Gilbert has stood out 6'7", pushing 250, Mike, and this is a guy
that's a body type that catches your attention right away.
Yeah, I was talking to our buddy Gorby at practice today, and he said, "Man, I think this guy only had like 15 catches in in high school, because he said he was doing the bios for these guys, or 15 catches last year, something like that. And we were both looking at him like, this guy's, he's not not going to be like a guy that you spread out wide, and like, not at this point of his career as like a guy that you're saying is a red zone threat, but like the way he's moving out there, you need a big physical body at tight end. You lose McCormick, who people may say, oh, well, what, that's not a big loss, but he played a lot of meaningful snaps and meaningful short yardage.
He was a good player for Miami.
Yeah, and converted in the red zone. But you lose Riley Williams as well, too, who we had been excited about.
We were big fans of his ceiling.
But you're losing that physical blocking threat. Lofton's not really a blocking tight end necessarily. He's going to be a movable piece, and I think will be a more featured part of the offense this year. But yeah, I think Luka Gilbert was someone who the last couple of days has stood out to me.
We have questions in the chat about the young guys that we're hoping also break through. Maybe not even in that class for that Ray's in, because the expectations for guys like Nikar and JoJo Trader are different. Now, Cam Ward came out and said that JoJo Trader has a chance. You've had limited opportunity to view him, but what can you give us on JoJo Trader and Nikar?
Yeah, well, Nikar, the first thing I would say about him is, and I said it yesterday, that was probably the first person I noticed in terms of like putting good weight on. Coming in as a speedster at that position, you don't always come in with, and he was a track guy. So I think putting weight on, and receiver is not a spot that we talk about a lot of times with guys needing to put weight on. We talk about it with the linemen, offensive and defensive linemen, and linebackers and things like that. But you don't always hear it with the receivers.
Oh, look at the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, exactly. the Slim Reaper. So I think that it's an underrated aspect of like, it's a physical position, the way these DBs play with that physicality these days, with that length. And I think Trader needed that weight, and Nikar needed that weight.
Trader also needed the playing time in that bowl game too. That was
nice to see. That was nice for his development. And that had to be that, and development and confidence, man, because young guy who was banged up early part of the year, like we said, needed to get. Sometimes you get banged up because you just can't sustain those hits over the course of a season. And we understand that Miami practices physically with Coach Cristobal. So that confidence can really go a long way to verify for the kid, look, I'm good enough. I just needed this year of development.
Now, you've said mostly good things about the wide receiver group, but still nothing to talk me down from Miami needing to address this in the spring portal. You kind of want that alpha on this roster right now. In terms of like alpha potential, can JoJo take that step? That's a lot to ask for a year 2 player. I know CJ Daniels is a veteran, but he's coming off that heel injury that certainly affected his play. Who's the alpha in the room right now? And do you still subscribe to the fact that Miami needs to go out and get one?
Yes, I think Miami needs to go out and get one. I think we're talking a lot about potential is what we're doing, right? And we've done this for years on Green Tree. I think there's very positive signs that these guys are going to live up to, what we think they can be in terms of everything that comes with playing the position, the work ethic and taking things seriously and all that, because there's been a lot of talented guys at that spot over the years at Miami who haven't necessarily done things the right way for their development. Xavier Estrepo obviously was a prime example of someone who did it the right way. And I think he's led an example for these next guys coming in, because quite frankly, I think some of these guys see that success that he had and say, man, that was all work for X. Obviously know the talent that he is, right? He has more physical ability. You see what he weighed in at 209 of the combine.
Yeah, he's going to be an NFL player. He's going to make
but I think they're also looking at it like, I know I can do it if I based on what we saw him do and how he worked himself there. But yes, need to go get another one. CJ Daniels is someone that I think you could probably say is the alpha, just because he's been there the longest.
He's a great locker room guy. Brian Kelly spoke about him in ways that he doesn't speak about many players. Very complimentary of him. Seemingly sad to see him go, even though CJ Daniels, because of that heel injury, was a bit of a disappointment at his time over at LSU. But no one no one has anything bad to say about the character of the young man or his work ethic. So lead by example kind of guy. Certainly the leader right now, but I'm with you. I think we still need to go out and get somebody because we're talking about high-end prospects and players needing still to develop. And you want more of a certain thing, especially if Carson Beck is 100%, because that is a quarterback that is good enough to help win you a national title as we talk about this floor elevating. Let's move over to the
one question here real quick,
go
Mike.
for it.
Oh, snap, it's Mike. He said, wasn't Lofton an elite blocker in high school? Don't we think that translates? 100% it translates. I just don't see him as like an inline on the formation, on the line of scrimmage. I see him as an 8 coming out of the backfield, as a lead blocker, as a fullback, as a cross the formation sort of guy. I think you need. Can he do it? Of course he can.
Yeah, he's got the body type, but I'm aligned with you. If I'm a defensive coordinator and I see Lofton lined up at the line in an obvious running situation, I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's one less thing I got to worry about. But if he's lined up in the backfield, if he's lined up in the slot, I'm worried about, all right, what is Miami cooking here? Because he's that kind of game breaker at that position. It's a very special weapon, and I don't want to have him operate inside of a box all too much.
Yep.
So if I can find a better blocker on the roster for those rushing downs, so I can keep my options open and maybe put Lofton on the outside or in the backfield, it's more dynamism, more options for your offensive coordinator, who even as a true freshman, I thought used Lofton quite well. So that's pretty good. I hear D-Money and the keys.
We hear footsteps. We hear footsteps.
Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball because a lot of position battles. It's almost like a game of musical chairs. We've been wondering aloud. They really almost over-addressed this secondary from last year. New DC, a lot of position coaches now, a lot of new faces. It's going to take some time to gel. This is a very difficult position play. Outside of quarterback and center, probably the most difficult position to play in American football is corner. And it asks a lot of these guys. Naturally, some new guys, new scheme. Some people may have opinions, maybe reading about guys struggling. I would say that is a position that you need to have a lot of patience with, especially considering the situation that Miami finds itself in. Have any of the new names flashed? I heard a lot of great things about the practices leading up with Ethan O'Connor. I'm a big fan of his tape. What can you tell me about the cornerback position specifically?
Yeah, Ethan O'Connor and D. We're gonna need you to scoot over a little bit to your left, man. Other way. Yep. Keep going.
Are you gonna hop me in, or what's the deal?
I mean,
D, hop in. I think
you've
quite
been
literally
you've been in the entire time. As soon as you came on camera.
Look at that golden tan.
Yeah, I
You
know.
look
That's a silver lining. Well, there's a lot of linings.
You know what?
That's another lining.
Mike, honestly, let's let D talk about the DB since we have limited time.
The freshest takeaway.
I've been talking here.
Although El Pete is proven to be even more plugged in on the football side than on the basketball side, and we do have a nugget that I saw you post on Kane's Insight that I want to get to on the basketball.
Yeah, we'll
side.
talk about. that.
Save that nug.
Yeah.
Save that nug. So yeah, a little late. I listened to the show on the way over. Great job. I'm hearing fast twitch muscle fiber, McGahee comparisons, calf analysis.
You even make the McGahee comparison because that's pretty crazy.
Not yet. He's probably a little bigger, but Lyle's bigger than you think. But yeah, he's probably smaller than McGahee. But I get it.
Look at that. You made D squirm with a player comp.
That's tough to do. That's very tough to do, I must say.
How's our hybrid Jalen Hurts, Tim Tebow quarterback doing? Luke Nick? as we're talking about player comps.
I mean, he's doing just as good as the hybrid kimchi Korean Cuban fusion croqueta at Islas Canarias. Go to Islas Canarias Express, the Dayland Dining Pavilion. Some people thought I was there earlier. I wish I was there earlier. I'd be coming in like a king. I'll go there afterwards. But again, Islas Canarias Express, the best Cuban restaurant in Miami, over 40 years. It was out in Cuban Town. It is now right there in Dayland, downtown Dayland, in the actual mall, the dining pavilion. There we go, the Andrade family. I mean, this is authentic. It's a family affair. They got something for everybody, 7 different types of croquetas. And the OG ham is the classic. You had the OG ham before?
I've had the OG ham. It's the best croqueta in South Florida. If you're the best croqueta in South Florida, you're the best croqueta in the world.
How's the shave?
The shave?
Yeah.
Not liking it. It's already growing back. Thank goodness.
I saw it fresh on Sunday.
Was it a bit, or was that?
No, it was something that my wife, my daughter, they all like constantly ask me to shave. I figured, okay, now I'm at like my desired weight. Let me give this a try. Well, I don't look fat anymore, and that's a plus. It's way too much face. Way too much face. This lighting just cemented it. I'm going back to the beard, and it's a work in progress. Now, for the love of God. Talk to me about the corners.
I feel great. So I mean, some of them are injured right now. No one's serious. But I mean, Xavier Lucas is of NFL all day, easy
Special.
money. I mean, he's 200 pounds. He's 6'1". He runs a 10.500, and he knows how to play. He played in high school, big time programs. He went to Wisconsin, played right away in the Big Ten. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He apparently is not being arrested by Wisconsin police for, whatever happened up there in what is it, Madison?
We're still waiting for their countermeasure.
I'm still waiting for their lawsuit. I heard it's a doozy.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure it's going to really
all in
shake
due
up.
time.
Yeah,
all in due time.
They're taking their time. They're billing hours on that one. But he's awesome, and I feel great about him. O'Connor. We'll see. Some of these guys are banged up. We'll see everybody over the course of the spring. But overall, I just think the defensive backfield way improved. Safety, Zechariah Poyser, as advertised. I think he's another NFL dude. We got him over Georgia for a reason. This guy's that kind of guy. He's not like Jaden Harris going to Georgia to play special teams. This guy was going to go to Georgia to start, replace Malachi Starks. He's going to be a really, really good player. Ball skills, looks the part, plays hard, smart. Real good.
So you mentioned that you listened to the show.
I did.
I posited, is the floor of this team, this upcoming season, higher than last year's floor? Last year, that team depended a lot on Cam to win some games that they typically lost. And I think they kind of maximized with the talent that they had on the roster. But fourth year, recruiting-based head coach, you're supposed to win bigger.
I mean, let's see. So floor, like with the quarterback getting hurt, can we remove the quarterback getting hurt from the floor?
Let's say Carson Beck is what he was last year.
All right, so let's remove the quarterback's health on both sides because if Cam Ward got hurt last year, you saw with Emory. So let's assume no quarterback injury. It's more balanced. I mean, the secondary is going to be a lot better. I think the defense we'll see on Heatherman. I don't know. He had a great defense last year. I mean, there's a lot that, you got to see. I
spoke with him, like him as a dude.
Yeah, seems like a good guy. He's
Seems
a
like a
hockey
dude.
fan, right?
A big hockey fan.
There's been a lot of growth from D. I've had a lot of growth in the last 10 years, but man, very measured.
You talking about the guns or? Oh,
I'm talking about
a measured approach.
Very measured
By
comments.
comparison, like he's out here comparing guys to Willis McGahee.
He said that we'll see on Heatherman. The old D would have. I don't know, man. This is interesting.
Well, I didn't expect the defensive backs not being so good last year. I think we all kind of knew that was going to be the weakness of the team. I didn't expect the confusion, right? I didn't expect some of the weird stuff that you saw with a returning defensive coordinator who did a good job the first year with a lot of veteran players. So, those kind of things I got to see. As far as the player for player, our secondary is going to be a lot better. I can say that with confidence. I think we'll add a linebacker, which is going to solidify that position. Again, knock on wood, no serious injuries here in spring. Defensive line, I think we've recruited really good. Talk about guys like Armando Blunt, guys like Hayden Lowe. They look right. I think Blay will replace Barrow just fine. Moton's getting better. Messidor coming back is big. You have Bain. So I feel that defense is going to be better on paper, assuming everything works out. And it could be a lot better if the communication stuff gets sorted. Offensive line, everybody comes back. They should be better. I think you're going to have more of talk about floor in terms of the running game. We had one of the best running games in the country last year. It could be even better this year just because of the returning talent on offensive line.
Willis McGahee in the backfield.
Yeah, Willis McGahee in the backfield. You do lose Damian Martinez, who, I think
you won that one.
Yeah.
You won Damian Martinez.
I'll give you Terry Rozier. So
you won Damian Martinez. He needed to work himself back into shape, which was a big qualifier, but he did the work. And the evaluation process has been dynamite for him going into the NFL.
We won't replace Arroyo. That's not going to happen. We're probably not going to replace Restrepo. I think Jojo Trader is going to be really good. I think he's kind of the lights come on. Not that he was like screwing around before, but I think the confidence.
He really benefited from the Pop-Tart Bowl, no?
Major. I heard you, Pete, say it on the show. The confidence of that catch. It's going to more. It's more than just one catch, right? It has a big boost to him. He knows he can do it. I think the weight is really helping him. He was a guy that needed some strength and conditioning, so he'll be good. And then Beck, I think will be rock solid. Malachi Tony doing some really nice things.
Pete got me really excited about Malachi Tony. Did he answer the question, Pete, on the floor?
He said we'll be more balanced. That was his answer.
Yeah, it was a very lawyer.
I didn't hear.
Yes or no? The floor on next year's team is higher.
By the way, Justin Scott, I didn't mention him. Justin Scott's really good. He looks good.
He also changed jersey numbers though, so that's a trick.
Dude, that's a big one.
That's
man.
a big
that
trick.
Number 5,
single
five
digits.
Star.
That number 5.
Anytime a big guy switches to a single digit, you're like, man, this guy put in the work when they might have actually lost 10 pounds.
Blunt and Hayden Lowe are 18 and 14.
Oh, okay.
So look for those numbers, but those guys look beastly. And the best player if you ask me the best player on the team, I'd say Francis, Mauanoa. You'd have to say Beck and Bain.
Outland.
Yeah. I think he's better than any of the tackles in this draft. I mean, Pete, is there a tackle better than Maunoa in this draft? I wouldn't take any of those guys over him.
I said it the other day. I would say that the
Will
only
Campbell,
thing
this
about
guy's way better than Will Campbell.
But Campbell, people like him at left tackle, which is that's the only thing that I'm looking at. That I don't know if people are going to see him. I've still had people tell me they think he's a guard at the next level.
Very measured.
Will Campbell might be a guard too. Will Campbell's got short arms,
which again, that doesn't diminish. I don't think that diminishes his impact on a team. But I think some teams would say they're not going to take a right tackle or a guard in the first 5-10 picks.
He's not answering the question.
He'll play left tackle. He'll play tackle. You got those. He's same athleticism as those.
I don't think he won't. But but the same people who told me they thought Restrepo could play running was looked at as a running back, and now we're seeing it. 2 years later that there's.
Well, he's not being looked at as a running back.
Well, there's people who are saying he's built like a running back, which he is.
Okay. Well, Maunoa's built like the heavyweight champion of the World Wrestling Federation, and he's great athleticism. I think he's just as athletic as the guy that got drafted by the New Orleans Saints.
Let me go on the record. I don't think Cody Rhodes would make a good tackle at the next level. I think he needs to put on some weight.
I said World Wrestling Federation.
Okay.
So a bit more size required to be the
Shawn Michaels
champion.
Also carried the Big Eagle design.
That was an anomaly. That was an anomaly.
All right. So you don't have to answer the question. Very clearly, you don't want to. You could say, I want to take more practice.
I was trying to give these guys a report here. So Elijah Lofton. So anyways, Maunoa is the best player on the team. I think he'll be a top.
But we don't need some
he'll be a top 10
We don't need some
year.
redundancies. We need some efficiencies.
The best player on this team, besides Maunoa, in my opinion, at least certainly on offense, but maybe the whole team, I would say Elijah Lofton. This guy is unbelievable. I think I've been on Going to Green Tree since 1990. Well, really since 1991, but like as someone who can actually know what was going on, probably since like 1998, 99. Elijah Lofton at his position, which is say H-back, fullback, is in the class of all these other guys.
Okay,
great
good.
Guys.
Because I heard you say we don't have a replacement for Arroyo, but I know how highly you regard Lofton.
Different position,
but it's just a totally different guy.
I mean, well, Elijah Arroyo wasn't getting handoffs. Elijah Arroyo wasn't lead blocking out of the backfield as much.
Yeah, but I guess
he'll do some of that.
When you say that you're not going to have an Arroyo and you're not going to have a Restrepo, it goes just beyond like those body types and their skill sets. It goes into like what people are really looking for is a production. Lofton's a type of cat that can certainly pick up where Arroyo left off in terms of production.
I mean, we had Lofton last year too.
Yeah,
he played a lot too.
I'm aware.
So I mean, I'm just saying,
bit of a gadget guy, but
to lose a guy like that is going to hurt. Just because he played so much and he's probably the best tight end in the draft in my opinion. So, but Lofton at his position, which I'd say is more of an H-back than Arroyo, who I think is a tight end, true tight end. I think you could compare him to the great ones that I've seen. I will compare him to the great ones I've seen. Now that position might not be as impactful as Andre Johnson playing wide receiver or Sean Taylor playing safety, but at that H-back fullback position, this guy is elite. I don't see anyone in the NFL like him, and I definitely don't see anyone in college like him. This guy is a big time running back who can block as a lead blocker and who can run routes and catch, and his thighs are like the size of this table. He was awesome today. He's awesome every day. I think he's an elite player.
Really? So we've already moved past the Delaney Walker comps.
I think he'll be better than that. I think this guy's going to. I think if he stays healthy, when he goes to the draft, he's going to be one of those guys that like people are just like, how do we figure this guy out? Like what? Because in the NFL, when you can game plan a whole week, how do you stop this guy? He can run. I'm telling you, this guy can run. If you put him in the ACC right now, he's averaging over 5 yards a carry, easy. And on top of that, he can lead block as a fullback, which you see the fullback coming into vogue now more in the NFL with the top offenses. And then he can line up wide and route people up and make one-handed catches. So you add all that together. I don't know who does all those things. I've never seen it. So I think this guy's a really special player.
I've been watching
I couldn't hype him up more.
I've been watching a lot of Tyler Warren stuff as a combine, and I kind of fantasy book putting Lofton in some of those same positions, getting some direct snaps would be a nice little goal line weapon. I haven't really seen Miami utilize him like that in practice just yet, but it's some food for thought because I think that this guy is such a special weapon that you just want to find creative ways to put the ball in his hands. Let's eliminate the quarterback and make him the quarterback in certain looks.
I love it. You could also have him and Fletcher in the backfield. So now you got Fletcher can block too. So you have two, you don't know where it's going. A lot of mismatch opportunities. Abeo's asking about
Josh Horton.
He was out there. He's healthy.
I saw him. Yeah, he looks huge.
Exactly.
He's always looked huge.
That was exactly what I was going to say. He looks huge, man. He is a giant.
You didn't answer the question still.
So what's the floor?
Is the floor higher for next year's team? Higher? Is it higher than this most recent football team?
I mean, the team's not done. So I would say talk to me in August, because the spring, like last year, this time, you didn't have Damian Martinez. You didn't have Simeon Barrow. You didn't have some of these guys that, Sam Brown, say what you will, he's in the combine. So let's see what happens after the spring. And then I'll judge. I think it's going to be a better all-around team, but Ward's 1-1. Beck could be 1-1. Rick Spielman said he could be, but
but Beck also doesn't necessarily have to be if the overall team is elevated.
Right. And I don't see I don't see him elevating it like Ward did. I mean, Ward's the best player I've seen since Sean Taylor at Miami, and he's the best quarterback I've ever seen in Miami. I was, around for Jim Kelly in college. So that's a hard bar. He's gonna be the number one quarterback. He's gonna be the number one pick of the draft, it seems like. So that you have to count for that when you talk about floors. I think we'll be a better all-around team.
Okay.
That's the best thing, but we'll see how it all shakes out after the spring.
Let's switch gears quickly because I got a hard out at 1:00. I saw you posting on the message boards, Pete. You've got some scoopage on the men's basketball front.
Yeah. So I from what I understand, Coach Jay Lucas will be introduced next week in Coral Gables as Miami's coach. Obviously, the last game of the season this weekend got NC State.
Thank heavens.
Man, it's been rough, man. It's been
disappointing for the ladies too, because Haley Cavender had such a special season. Yeah, tough basketball year down here at Coral Gables, but things to get excited about. New page. We got Jay Lucas coming in. You're exclusively reporting that press conference will happen on Monday. And
Monday, from what I've heard.
Then we'll get the Gary Furman confirming report.
You stole my joke. He should ask at the press conference.
Are you going to be the next head coach?
Are you going to be the next head coach?
I'm going to pin you down here. I'm going to pin you down here. Gary, Kane Sport, pinning you down here. Jay, will you commit to being the next? Is there an agreement? Has anything been signed?
Well, listen, what I don't know if does this mean that does this mean he's like done with Duke? I don't know that to be the case. My hunch would be that he's introduced, it's out there officially, he can start to recruit for Miami and then finishes up. I would think still goes back and finishes up the season with Duke. That's my hunch. I have zero information on that. Because look, he's not going to be recruiting for Duke anyways. That was half of his job at Duke as it was. So I think he can start to finish putting a staff together at Miami, which, there's already some pieces in place from what I understand. And then now just finish out with Duke, which, obviously they want to finish out what he's been a big part of, with bringing a lot of talent to the table and being the defensive coordinator over there. So excited for just some like light at the end of the tunnel of these last 2 years, because
we need positive juice.
Yeah, because we were excited going into this year. We really were, but we understood that the pieces may not actually fit together. I did not expect what happened, obviously, with him stepping down and it being as bad as it was. I still thought at the lower end of it, they'd be like a lower mid-level ACC team. I didn't think they'd be one of the worst two teams.
I want to put a ribbon on the men's basketball talk because, look, you could put a fair amount of blame on the previous regime. To me, I understand older coach. We recruited at a high level. For me, some of the issues with the basketball team were just misfires when it came to talent evaluation in the portal and guys that we prioritized keeping over guys that we let get away potentially, guys that we just didn't want to take serious looks at in the portal. That's a little inside baseball, but it was just misfire after misfire. It felt like over the last year and a half, specific to the portal and our targets, Coach L was just off. Like, he was just flatly wrong about some of these guys. And it's unfortunate when you see like a guy like Norchad Omir, how you just wanted to pair him with one big, and yet you essentially had 3 years to do it. And we could never solve that issue, even though there were some solutions right under Coach L's nose. So it was disappointing. And I hope with Jay Lucas, not only comes like a reinforcement of getting back to recruiting high-level talents, but also a talent evaluation that I think was kind of lacking over at the University of Miami.
You got to put together that basketball ops staff. You got to put together a real department like they do in football, and we're all very excited about what they do talent acquisition-wise over there, and that's because of the team that they've put together on the recruiting side. Need to do something similar for basketball.
I just hope we get back in the mix for Abel, man. He looked great. That sucks that he's
I mean, look, I think
it happens.
He already has 3 other visits lined up, and I would imagine that Coach Lucas is already putting certain things in place. Obviously would love to keep him. I think he's a stud, but it looks like he's going another direction.
All right, let's give baseball a couple seconons here.
I would love to.
Oh, wait, I got to say one thing. Of course, Basketball Talk brought to you by Aries Law PA. Of course, that's my dad. If you guys need estate planning, so trusts, wills, planning your future, of course, very, very important. You do not want to leave it to anybody else. You got to do it yourself. So AriesLawPA.com.
Look at you.
Kyle says Abel isn't impressed by the Lucas hire. Maybe he's still reading Canesport and not believing it yet. So
what Lucas hire? I don't know what you're talking about. I just follow Canesport.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. But
and look, he may not have had any sort of relationship with him, so it may not be an impress if he had he had zero sort of. I don't know if Duke was in the mix for him at all. So
these other schools are recruiting him. I get it. On the baseball team, big win yesterday against FIU at Lone Depot. That's scary for Canes fans.
I turned down multiple invitations. I'm never going back into that building when those two schools are playing. Never. It's just too soon, too raw, too much hurt, too much.
It's
pain,
always going to be too
much trauma.
I mean, it used to be such a place of joy. Now you had the last game of the Orange Bowl followed by that game. Those are the last 2 games in the Orange Bowl. Not very good ones for the football.
A very
team.
Traumatic experience, and I'm not ready to get over myself. So thank you for all the invites. No, thank you though. Didn't want to go, but I'm glad that we got the dub.
Grand Slam by Daniel Cuvée. It wasn't on TV, so I just listened to WVU
or watch Canes Cat C305 stream from Lone
right.
Depot
I did watch a couple innings on that.
Was Miami got 3 losses on the season now?
Yeah, they lost a tough one FAU, which they pitched well, they just didn't hit. And then they lost a series to UF, but then won big on Sunday.
Wow, Kyle's a believer. When we get Kyle believing in something here, we did something right. He says baseball teams improved. D was right. This team may make the tournament.
It'd be nice to make a tournament in a sport. We haven't been doing that lately.
My analysis, and you guys listen to the show, I said the pitching will be better. The pitching depth will be better. The bats, I think there'll be more depth with the bats. The question is going to be the impact kind of first round type bats. You saw, or just MLB type bats, your Kafises, guys like that. So we'll see. Cuvée hit the grand slam yesterday. He came through. Need Max Galvin to keep hitting. Jake Ogden's been awesome. We'll be out there today. I'll be out there with my family. Watch Villanova. Shout out to Javi Salas, Mr. Perfect, threw a perfect game against these guys. What's the anniversary? Was it?
Is it going to be? It was yesterday. The 11-year anniversary was yesterday. Is he going to be honored?
He rumor has he's going to be throwing out the first pitch. We will see. Check it out. The light, $4 beers, $2 hot dogs, and the shakes. It's going to be an awesome time. I'll be there, and I should be there this weekend. But it'll be a lot of fun. So that's the baseball analysis for the day. Let's see if you keep it going midweek. We're now 2-1 on the midweek. Let's stretch that out a little bit. We can't be anywhere close to 500 this year.
Happy 305 day to Pete, D-Money, and our audience for our final segment of the show, the Song of the Week and Wrestler of the Week. We've got something for 305 day, but let's address the elephant in the room. Your Wrestler of the Week is a part of one of the biggest storylines in the history of the business.
I saw your take on the Levitard show. Agree with everything you said there.
It makes so much sense for John Cena to do this.
It does, but really, this is why you see my Wrestler of the Week, which is Miami Hurricane great, number 94, out of Pennsylvania, top 100 prospect, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. The reason I didn't go with Cena is because when I'm watching that segment, Cena to me was not capturing my attention. Cody Rhodes was not capturing my attention.
Travis Scott
with the Sage, awesome.
Sage.
Unbelievable.
What's in it for him? That's where
he's scheming.
Where my mind goes, it's like, all right, I get where Cena's coming from. I get where Rock's coming from. I don't know what Travis Scott's doing.
I just hope when he starts working, because he's going to start working.
Oh yeah,
is that it's like more of a sensational Sherry vibe. I don't want to see him doing Canadian Destroyers. I'm sure they'll do all that.
He could be Rodman. He could be Rodman to this NWO, no doubt. The Burning Sage is good. The fact that he legitimately busted Cody's eardrum and gave him a black eye,
he'll move.
That's good heat. That's good heat for Travis Scott. But I'm not clear on his motivations right now. I'm going to need that explained to me.
We'll see what it is. Sicko mode. But with respect to The Rock, this guy, what I saw in this segment, to me, I sent the text to the wrestling chat. He, in my opinion, is the greatest professional wrestler to ever live, and it's been cemented.
Hmm.
I thought the first run was as good as it gets, with two exceptions, which would be Hogan's run and Stone Cold's run, right? So I put The Rock's run in the early 2000s, late 90s, third to those guys.
Fair.
As far as a run.
Yeah, fair.
Ric Flair working promos,
Different era,
is the best.
Territory.
He's the best in terms of just like, if you just say who's the best worker, best promo combination, is Ric Flair. But he didn't dominate the whole culture. Like, he's more culturally relevant now.
Yeah, no doubt. Than he was like when he was actually humming.
But when The Rock came back with the Final Boss last time, and then
Mhm.
this time, he is so above everybody else. And it's not just, I'm here, I'm going to get cheap pop, like he was when he was coming back, the decade prior. He'd come in, get the cheap pop, whatever. He is integrating himself in the show immediately, elevating everybody immediately, and then bouncing with no effort at all.
Yeah.
While also in the Hollywood, if you compare him to Stone Cold and Hogan, really no comparison.
No comparison, better than anybody that did it. Honestly, like the only comp that you can have for him right now is ironically Dave Bautista, who's had a really successful, more successful in Hollywood than he was in the ring, and he was a former world champion.
And he's doing serious movies. The Rock is still the gimmick in the movies.
Mhm.
So like, he doesn't even change.
Although that
his
turn
gimmick.
is coming for The Rock. He's gonna have some award bait playing in that MMA movie, Mark Kerr, right? And he's been casted reportedly in the Scorsese movie. So the dramatic turn is coming.
We'll see. We'll see how he does. But I know in this squared circle, he is the best to ever do it. He shows this. He goes up. He says, out of nowhere, with no buildup, nothing. He just says, I'm going to steal Cody Rhodes' soul. Or I want Cody Rhodes'
with
soul.
no buildup. In fact, a 180 from what they had booked just from like a week and a half ago at the Netflix premiere.
It made no sense. It made zero sense. It was like an Undertaker line from a normal, non-mystical person.
Well, it certainly makes business sense because anytime, like, he wasn't going to be at all affiliated with this WrestleMania. I guess maybe tickets weren't going the way that they wanted to. We were all kind of wondering where they would go with the card. And just like last year, maybe they listened to the internet. Maybe they'll listen to the internet criticism because that Netflix premiere thing was weird, and they inject themselves and they make it right. I don't know if the internet's kind of writing this thing as it goes along, but what we saw on Saturday at the Elimination pay-per-view, that is a moment in time. That is Hogan turning. That is a top 5 moment in the history of the business.
Oh, 100%. And again, I'm giving the credit to The Rock, because that soul thing was absurd. He came in, when he came back with wearing the Elvis vest,
the bell bottoms.
Shout out, he recognizes the king, came in with the Elvis vest, Travis Scott running around, and everybody in the crowd had signs about stealing the soul. He got it over in one promo. It made no sense. And then when he's talking, it's just like, I'm cackling when I hear him talk to Cody Rhodes. It's saying just the dumbest stuff ever.
I want your soul.
Buying it.
Give me a hug, my brother. I want your soul. It's a ridiculous thing. We don't really know the motivations, but it makes the most sense for why, like, they've done long form storytelling with Cena for the last 2.5 years, him leaning into the fact that he doesn't have it anymore. You could see, like, I don't actually believe this was the plan all along, especially the Rock element. I do think that they were looking at some numbers, realizing that they had to do something. But with Cena, I do actually think this was a plan for him to be heel, and the Rock thing kind of fell into his lap. And people at the internet's doing like the whole, like, he gave 3 fingers. They didn't know what that meant. They don't know. You're giving him way too much credit. But Cena, with his struggling in confidence, his one-on-one win-loss record,
he's balding,
working curtain jerking against Austin Theory and losing to Solo Sikoa. He was an integral part of last year's WrestleMania main event storytelling. Again, stop giving them additional credit with like the trucks of Stone Cold and John Cena in the background. That was for last year, folks. Stop. They got plenty of credit for pulling a win out of a loss, but they are not that smart. The Cena thing, though, has been legit good. The promo at the end of the Royal Rumble, laying more seeds. I think Cena is going to knock this out the park. It's what I wanted to see out of all the WrestleMania possible storylines we were talking about. Heel Cena, maybe turning at the event itself, but now I think they did it even better because we get a couple months build of a heel John Cena. And give him the belt, give him the record, let him run through SummerSlam, Survivor Series as a heel champ, and give him a nice little babyface kiss at the end at Ruthless Aggression. This is masterful work, and it's great. It was great facials, great storytelling, even Travis Scott being confusing and like legitimately hurting the world champion. All that stuff is going to be great.
Yeah, no, I'm fired up. Fired up your choice here. It took me a while to figure it out because I'm slow. I looked at the calendar. So
305 day. We both have guys that are affiliated with Miami. Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP, was actually born and raised in Liberty City, Opelika. The guy went to juvie as a teenager, served some really hard time. In his late 20s, he finally sees freedom, and he makes something of himself. And he turns to wrestling, gets trained by Norman Smiley, another legit tough guy and a Miami guy.
Beach High grad.
Yeah, Norman Smiley, one of the great gimmicks. His hardcore championship run at WCW with the big wiggle.
You have a lot of love for late period WCW.
I do. I have a lot of love for Norman Smiley, and I would never cross him. That guy's a legit shoot fighter. He'd kill you. But MVP, another guy you don't want to mess with, as Chris Jericho reportedly found out on one of his own cruises, MVP is not someone that you mess with. I want to praise his run as a very long-term U.S. champion. And it was Ruthless Aggression era, not one of the strongest eras in WWE's history, but he had a really good program with Matt Hardy. I always like it when rivals that are chasing a singles championship end up being tag team champions, like two-man power trip, Austin and HBK and the Rock and Sock connection. I always like that dynamic, and they had that going there. He's done some really good work later in life, came back to a monster pop, surprising monster pop, then did some really good work as a manager for the Hurt Business, which kind of got a lot of good feedback during a really difficult time for wrestling, that bubble era, Thunderdome era. So I want to give this guy credit. He's now in his 50s. He's still doing the damn thing. He's working for AEW, made something of himself. That is the Miami spirit, and I wanted to honor it on 305 Day. MVP Wrestler of the Week for me.
Great guy in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
When that was when that whole thing
he
went
finally
down.
got Bobby Lashley over to a point. Like Lashley got over with a hair versus hair, billionaire versus billionaire thing, but it wasn't sustained, and he had all the potential in the world, and it took someone like MVP to finally get that character to resonate with folks.
100%. And I think the no crowd helped him to kind of really get his promos over. Him, that whole Hurt Business, Bailey and Sasha, and then Otis with Mandy. Those are the things I think and Edge and Randy Orton. Those were some great angles that either didn't get their payoff.
Hey, can I hop in here?
Please, Pete.
You know what? Just because you brought him up. The easy thing to do would have been to pick Cena this week with the heel turn. But I'm really hoping he has one last feud later this year. And after he wins WrestleMania, I'm going to go with Randy Orton, the Viper, the Apex Predator, the Legend Killer, one of the all-time greats, this same generation of WWE, and one of his biggest rivals. I'd like to see them go at it one more time on this farewell tour, man. Now that the roles are reversed a bit, you got Cena as the heel now, and Orton could be the face. He could be the good guy.
This is the best gimmick going in the history of the show.
Yeah. I didn't think. Now we got 2 weeks going into this program. It needs to be a staple character.
I love it. This is it. This is it.
Did you work on that promo? Like, you've nailed it the last 2 weeks. You haven't gotten a name.
Timing is right. The context
all your
is
facts
right.
are right.
I'm a man of research. What can I say?
That's really good stuff, Pete. Song of the week. I went with an easy one. Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull. A lot of people watching this are down with Pitbull's start and remember his start on hip hop radio as a protege of Uncle Luke. Money is a Major Issue, that album, and the 305 anthem with Lil Jon. When he was working with Lil Jon in that production was great. It was a great introduction to Pitbull. Another great story, someone that really maximized his own talent, his broad appeal. Another great Miami story, a hustler. Anybody that really meets him comes away really impressed by this gentleman. And he's very proud to be from here. And I'm on a great algo right now of Pitbull live performances and people that dress like Pitbull to his live performances.
Do you pop up on it?
I have not popped up. Well, I did get a post on Levitard show. So I guess one of the great thrills on 305 Day was to receive a post from Pitbull shouting out my cosplay. So I love Pitbull. Recently saw him in concert, a great Miamian, a great entertainer. And the fact that, like, you can deny him all you want, but once a year that guy's going to have an earworm on the radio. And you're going to, how is this guy still doing it? How is he still culturally relevant? He finds ways, be it production, be it a hook. He just finds a way to get into that pop culture zeitgeist every damn year. Pitbull is an incredible story, and I wanted to give him love with a song that you could actually put on your Canes playlist and pound your chest to because you're loud and proud about being a Miamian.
No, I remember seeing him in high school. He used to play house parties out there in Sweetwater, Westchester, and we didn't want to hear. We were there for we wanted to hear like the DJ. We don't want to see a performance. So it's amazing how far he's come. Didn't think that was going to take him. A Cuban rapper. I just didn't see it happening, but it happened for him. And shout out, Europe. You go there, they play his songs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Miami artists are really not artists. They're all about the business. It's like Pitbull, like DJ Khaled.
Flo Rida.
Flo Rida has sold more records than Radiohead. They just make money, man. Those guys just make money.
What a
money
stat.
is a major issue indeed. So shout out to Pitbull, who wore a Sean Taylor jersey at Kimbo Slice when he fought Tank Abbott at the Watsco.
I was there for that.
You were there for that.
I was there for that.
He wore the Sean Taylor throwback, so he knew the Miami angle. So shout out to Pitbull. I'm going a whole different continent here, the continent of Europe. I know you're a fan. So
yes.
So those of you who don't know,
still a fan, by the way, of Europe.
Those of you who don't know,
Most are.
the Swedes have been controlling popular music in this country for many decades. Okay, so we remember Ace of Base from our youth, the 90s, Hot Wheels, Ace of Base, Hot Wheels.
You're preaching to the choir here. The Swedes, per capita, the greatest musical nation.
Max, the gift of melody. So Max Martin comes in, a Swedish gentleman who worked with Ace of Base, and he basically wrote every single pop song from the 90s on. You're talking about all the boy bands, the Britney Spearses of the world. He wrote Bon Jovi, It's My Life. It's Now or Never. That's why that was so catchy.
Wow.
Takes a break. Comes back with Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson, goes on a whole nother run. Talk about Taylor Swift, Katy Perry. All their hits were this one guy.
Yeah. As Timbaland's totally destroyed Justin Timberlake's career post Future Sex Love Sounds, anytime that Justin Timberlake does anything of note, it's because he's worked with Max Martin on those Trolls movies.
100% brought him back. The Weeknd, used to the cocaine kind of R&B sound, gets with this guy, starts writing worldwide melodies. I Can't Feel My Face, the Blinding Lights. That was all this guy. So anyways, the Swedes have controlled popular music pretty much non-stop for the past few decades. Started in 1970s with a band called ABBA. Pete, I know you're a fan of this band.
I have the screenshot ready.
I know you discovered this worldwide smash band recently.
Yeah, they have there's a song for Alexander Isak, the best striker in the world. It's modeled off of that song. It's his chant for us magpies. So I love the tune. I had to figure out where it was from, and I recently, as you see here, downloaded and added to my music playlist their greatest hits. Let me take this off.
ABBA's incredible.
Yep. Between Shador Sanders, Perfect Timing, Young Thug, Slime Season 2 finally went to audio after Apple Music after all these years. Got some Gunna, got some Boss Man D-Lo. It's really just.
We should have went in the lab and put I Hear Voices, Randy Orton's theme song in the library too, just to keep the gimmick going.
We'll get that next time. And I know you got to get out of here. The song I chose, Name of the Game. This is one of the more complex ABBA songs, but every single part is incredibly catchy. The trumpets, the way they use the vocals. This is, to me, them at their peak of their powers from a craftsmanship perspective, but it was still a number one hit, so they didn't lose the melody. Shout out to ABBA. And if you want to hear the playlist, Kane's Insight, just search it up on Spotify, on Apple Music. We're adding songs every show, so appreciate you guys checking that one out. Mike, I know you got to run.
Yeah, I got to run.
You got the hard out. If you got a hard out of your clothes because they're not fitting or they're just not looking good, MiamiHTS.com, the Hurricane Team store. I'm in a rush.
A 4 out of 10.
I'm in a rush because of you.
Because of us.
You would have had an hour to say things.
I would have waited till the right moment, but I had to rush it out because you were rushing out.
It's us.
Okay.
If you're rushing,
we were here on time.
You were here on time. The Hurricane Team store is here on time for the spring, the new wardrobe, 20% off, promo code INSIGHT20 on MiamiHTS.com. 20% off.
30. Look at this, 30.5 off site wide.
Wow,
today
for 305 day. Look at
305 day, 30.5% off site wide, MiamiHTS.com. I
want to answer Scuba Steve's question real quick, asking me about Seth Jones all show long. Really excited about the acquisition. 7 for 7 on the penalty kill. This guy's a talent. It felt like a birthright for him to be a Florida Panther, the son of Popeye Jones, NBA guy that I know that you're familiar with. Seth
Handsome
Jones,
man.
big body, a guy that's going to get active on special teams when it comes to the power play. You have a guy that can replace Ekman Larson, what he brought on that second PP unit. So I'm really happy about the acquisition, and I don't think the Panthers are done yet.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Go Cats.